What's happening, everybody? It's your boy. We are back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, I hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast. Last week, I heard it was some of the numbers came in, and it was absolutely incredible. I appreciate everybody that logged in, but for those that's logging in for the very first time, this is Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am he, Stanley Doucette, and I cannot wait to share something. Listen, this information today is not going to get you hyped. It's not going to have you run around the room. It's not going to do any of those things. But today's podcast is something that unfortunately you may need in the future. So I'm going to share with you some information that it is absolutely critical that we know about prayerfully. Nobody have to use this information, but I want to share it with you because I learned it and I want to share. I'm not one of those people that's selfish and want to hold stuff, but I want to absolutely share with you guys so you have it at least in your mind, even if it's in the back of your mind. At least I want to share it with you so you can take advantage of it. It's not going to be a long podcast today, but I want to share. But you guys know I start running my mouth. And no telling, it may go from 10 minutes to 4 hours. Now, I'm just kidding. We're not going to be on here 4 hours. I can guarantee that. We're not going to be on here 4 hours, right? But I wanted to share something with you that I think is very important, extremely important. So, first of all, I want to say thank you guys for logging in. For everybody that's logging in for the first time, thank you. I appreciate you logging in or listening in later on in the day or the night or 2 weeks from now, a year from now. Thank you guys so much for actually logging in. For those that have been logging in each and every week, following us, doing the things that we do, thank you. Your love, your support, it means everything. For those that have been sending the donations, thank you. Uh, just just thank you. It just continues to help me build upon what we have been doing for the last last 3 years, last 3 seasons. I'll say it that way. So thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate every single thing that you're doing. For the commercials that I like to do to get out the way, go to all of our podcast channels: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course, my favorite is YouTube. Listen, if you don't have YouTube, I get it. But if you can actually look at me and see some of the things that I do, and we have guests, some of the crazy things that we do, some of the things that is just absolutely amazing in terms of facial features, laughter, cutting up, talking about things. Listen, go to YouTube, go to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, and that's LET apostrophe S. You have to put the apostrophe S in there. If not, it's not going to pull it up. All right. So go there. I notice our YouTube is actually ticking up, and I love that. I love that. All of our other social media platforms are actually ticking up. Believe it or not, Facebook and Instagram have really been taking off, and I appreciate you guys for that. So it's YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. For whatever reason, those platforms have been skyrocketing. So thank you guys so much. So listen, let's get into this. If you got something, take some notes with this one. Yeah, this one is it's not one of those ones you want to talk about, but we have to talk about this, family. I want to make sure that all of us have the opportunity to understand certain things. So today, I just simply want to talk about senior care, elderly care, adult care, right? Just so many different things. Listen, sometimes we are hit with some unfortunate conversations we have to have. Some happen quicker than others, but sometimes we are hit with some things, whether it's a sibling, whether it's parents or aging parents, whether it's aging siblings, whether it's an aging grandmother or grandfather. You know, we're hit with some of those things that we don't necessarily always want to actually pay attention to. So for those individuals from anywhere from age 0 all the way up, you may be hit with something that you actually have to take care of a loved one, or you have to maybe be the caregiver for a loved one, or you may have to be the individual that's got to sign off on everything. So I want to just give you some of the different things that I've learned, right? And through trial and tribulation, through some hard lessons, through some mental challenges, and as I like to say, mental exercises. I want to share this with you because I think this is absolutely powerful. So again, under senior care, just again, if you're taking care or may have to take care of somebody, even a spouse in their later years, I want to make sure we have all of the different things that we need. So number one, if there's a diagnosis, if there's any kind of diagnosis, we have to accept that diagnosis. Sometimes it may be HIV/AIDS, it may be dementia, it may be some type of other ailment, it may be some type of disease, it may be something chronic. We don't know, right? We are not the ones that may be there. A lot of most familiar people, or people are familiar with cancer. People talk about cancer, but there are things, not just cancer, but there are other things that go along with it that we have to do some powerful things to make sure that we get everything that we need and all the things that we need to do every single thing and be just that powerful. So now that we're doing all of those things, I want to share with you guys something very important, just very, very important. So the first thing is accepting the diagnosis. Let's make sure we accept the diagnosis, because a lot of times when someone is share with you about an ailing parent or ailing spouse or ailing loved one, it's like, no, that can't be true. You want 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 different backups and 30 different people saying, oh, we need to do another one. And no, listen, I understand you may want a second look or a third look, but we can't keep going out looks and looks and looks. Every doctor is not wrong. Every person is not wrong in that standpoint. So first thing is we have to accept that diagnosis. Now, let me be honest. It may not be easy to accept right away. Give yourself some grace on that. It may not be easy to accept right away. There are some things that happen that people may turn. They may turn, have a nerve. I don't know how to say it, but basically, let's say their nerves go bad and they may physically change a certain way. That may be hard to digest because you may be thinking about that loved one when they were this age, or when they were doing this, or we were just in the club, or we was just at church, or we were just here. So we have to accept that diagnosis and make sure you give yourself grace. It's difficult to watch. I must admit, it's difficult to watch, but we have to accept the diagnosis. All right. So make sure you understand to accept the diagnosis. Now, once you accept the diagnosis, I think what's important is if you're that one that's going to be in charge or take charge, whether the siblings or whether the parents or whatever it may be, that you take charge. And I think one of the things that's important is to get a power of attorney, to get a POA, power of attorney, right? So when you're getting a power of attorney, you going and saying you're going to be responsible for their everything from financial to healthcare, especially in America, everything from finances to healthcare, and making sure that you're taking care of that loved one. And make sure if you guys are deciding who's going to be the POA, and make sure that person is responsible, because there's a lot of things that come on the PUA. I remember when I had to sign a POA, excuse me, when I had to sign a POA, and I remember just reading it and sitting in the attorney's office, and the weight that it just hit me like, every decision that I make this individual life is depending on I make a solid decision, right? That's a lot of weight, but it's necessary because you cannot look into their finances. You cannot look into their health care legally. Here in America, I'm referring to now. You can't do those things without a proper power of attorney on hand. There's a lot of things that you have to get power of attorneys for. And I remember when I had to do it, we was going from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor to bank to bank to bank to bank to retirement to retirement to retirement to retirement, and so many other places. Just so many different things, even vehicles, right? If a person is diagnosed by the doctor and they cannot drive anymore, what's the reason in keeping a vehicle unless it's already paid for? But if you're carrying a note, let's think about it. What's the reason and keeping that note. So again, go into the power of attorney, making sure you're making very wise decisions, making sure you're very powerful in those decisions, but also making sure you get all of the information, because you're also going to have family members that are going to be, oh, let's just do this, 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 and you don't have all of the information. You're going to have people that have an opinion. Oh, we should just do this, 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 and you still don't have all of the information. Don't make a decision or rush a decision just because you're the decision maker, or don't be biased because you feel a certain way and just say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. No, don't do that. Right. So when you're doing the power of attorney, understand all of those decisions, you are the last ultimate decision maker. Right. So number one, make sure you accept the diagnosis. And number two, now this is no particular order, but I just want to share this with you guys. Number two, make sure you get a power of attorney in place right away. Now, this is important because a lot of people miss this. A power of attorney is up until the person takes their last breath. Once that person dies, it reverts back to the individual or the deceased family member. So what's the next thing we have to make sure is in place is a will, right? We want to go from power of attorney to will so we don't have any discrepancies, any confusion. If the loved one is still under great mental capacity, then let's make sure we get that will all laid out. If you don't have a will even now, even if you're young, just go get a very simple will. Get it filled out, get it done, get a simple will done, and make it happen. Now, if you have all kind of assets and 5 and 6 different cribs around the world, and I'm sorry for some people, cribs mean house. So make sure that you get all of the things in place and how you want your assets divided up. If you have all kind of bank account and Swiss banks account and some stuff in the Cayman Island and some stuff in the Isle of Man and some stuff in Bermuda and some stuff in America. And so, listen, if you got stuff all over the world, right? Make sure at least you put the will in place. And some people say even put a living trust in place and so many other things. I'm not going into the finance side, but I just want to make sure that after you have the power of attorney, make sure you have the will established as well. Because if that loved one close their eyes and go on to glory, then you want to have something in place that their last will and testament, so we can have all of those things and they can be executed right from there. Right? Here is something another one we don't want to think about. It's your burial policy. Yeah, it's your burial policy. See, a lot of times we just think about life insurance, and that's great. So you know what you will, all that's great, but you got that burial policy, right? You want to make sure, if you can, take care of the burial policy. And if somebody have life insurance, see what you need to do with the funeral home, that you can put the actual burial policy all prepaid and pre in place with the life insurance and all of those things. Make sure you put all those things in place. So when that person do go to glory, that a lot of the stuff is already in place and you don't have that stress on your back. So you want to make sure you do those things and put it in proper order. And once it's done, it's done. You don't have to worry about coming back and getting confused and lost. It's already done. All you have to do is just go to the funeral home. They already have it on file and they're going to take it from there. Right? So again, accept the diagnosis, make sure you get a power of attorney in place, and also make sure you have a will. After that, unfortunately, we have to start thinking about when they close their eyes. So my suggestion would be to get a burial policy in place. Now, everybody don't have the same beliefs as a burial. Some people may say, nope, I don't want a burial policy. I want a cremation. I want this. Whatever all of that is, right? You can figure all of that out now while they're still in their right mind, because they may want to go to a certain church, right? They may want to go pass down a certain street. In New Orleans, Louisiana, they may want to have a second line. So we don't know what it may be, but we want to make sure we put all of those things in place so this is what your loved one wanted, right? And then be able to go beyond that. A friend of mine, I'm thinking about it, a friend of mine said something that it absolutely blew my mind, but I had to think about it. And I want you guys to think about this. Some people say they want to be cremated and they want to get the urinal and put the ashes in there and I want to give it to you. here, you sweetheart, you're the one that I want you to carry. Or the person may say, I want half of my ashes with all of my children and divide it up evenly, right? Some may say, listen, I want all my ashes in one in one place. I don't want my body and all of that. I want my everything in one place, one urinal. And you may pick a certain person to have that urinal, or it may be a spot where it's just a well, a one child, right? It's just one child, so that one child get that. Here's the thing what my friend said that I thought was it was powerful, right? So in the will, it may say like you want your one child to have the actual ashes. Great, got it. No worries. But what happens when that person go on to glory? You have to think about that piece too. What do you want those ashes and where do you want those ashes to go? What do you want to happen to your ashes, right? So all of those things you have to literally talk through to make sure you're following their wishes and you don't have any stress when that day comes. You'll be able to move and move swiftly, be able to have less stress. You're already going to be probably a little discouraged. In some parts of the world, you might celebrate, but regardless of what, you want to have those things in place, especially in America. You want to make sure that you have those things in place. All right. So once we do the burial policy, now we start looking at where they are now and the quality of care, as I would say, the quality of care, making sure you have people around you that's helping, whether it's a social worker, whether it's somebody that's a nurse, somebody that's a doctor, somebody that's a physician assistant, somebody that's a nurse practitioner, regardless of what it is. Let's just make sure we have somebody in line to help guide us medically. Right? If somebody that we may be able to trust, I know that person have his own doctors, but you may find somebody that's in the family or somebody that you trust that's very close to you that you want to talk to them about the quality of care that they have and that they're doing. So I want to make sure that we have all of those different things in place. And as we have those different things in place, then we able to make things happen swiftly, smoothly, and without stress. All right. And we're getting the best advice. So sometimes, doctors do this. I'm gonna have to ask some of the doctors. Um, I was sitting and my dad went to a doctor's appointment and they were just sharing some stuff with him. And when they were sharing stuff, I know he didn't understand because I got 5 million degrees and I was like, what is he talking about? No, I'm sorry, it was a female. What is she talking about? It's almost as if they want to talk and like everybody went to medical school. Oh, ma'am, I did not go to medical school. Can you please tell me like I'm a third grader so we can understand what it is so we can help my dad if it's something that he needs to do. And I know other people feel the same way. As a matter of fact, I see people saying, that's right. We, the doctors, if you're a doctor, can you talk to that person in normal terms, right? All of us didn't go to medical school. We understand you feel you're smart. Great. Well, can you be smart enough to share with us that we don't understand 45 syllable words? We don't know what it means. So if somebody talks to you in their profession, right, in their professional language, you don't know what the syllables or the acronyms mean for certain stuff. So you have to ask. Well, instead of asking it, we just share with people certain things, then we'll understand it is a lot easier. So I just want to put that out there. But with that being said, so we want to make sure that we have somebody in the family that can take care of us or answer questions and all of those things to make sure now that we're getting the proper care, right? So now that goes into insurance. It just, this is an opinion. This is not, I can't say it's a fact. This is an opinion. But in my opinion, in Stanley's opinion, the healthcare in America is all screwed up. I mean, it is all screwed up. I mean, doctors are not talking to doctors. They're not trying to get to the root of a cause. A friend of mine, I accompanied a friend of mine to the urgent care, and they said that their knee was hurting, and it was like, "Oh, did you take aspirin?" I was like, "Did you take an aspirin?" I is Oh, because his knee hurt, just take a aspirin. Can we find out, or can if her knee hurt or if her leg hurt, can we find out what's the problem before you just talking about, let me give you a shot and a pill and send you home? Can we not do that? Can we literally find out what's the problem? Can you actually do your job and find out what it is? And then we can take the proper steps. Don't just say, oh, did you take an aspirin? No, I ain't taking no aspirin. I'm trying to find out what's wrong with my knee. Why would I take an aspirin if my knee is killing me, right? So let's at least do that. But anyway, I digress. So let's just make sure when we're doing that, that we get the proper attention on the medical side, okay? And that's why I say have quality medical or quality people with you for that. Now, in terms of going into the insurance, when you're taking care of a loved one or a senior loved one, right? Or somebody that may have had an accident or something like that, and they need long-term care. I want you guys in America to understand in certain states, uh, in certain places around the country, if not all places, long-term insurance or long-term care insurance and your actual health insurance is two separate policies or it's two separate things. You have to have health insurance and you have to have long-term care, right? A long-term care policy. Yeah, some people I know found out the hard way. We didn't even know, right? You don't know if you haven't been through this. So you're thinking, I have insurance, I have healthcare insurance, so that's going to take care of me. Nope, it's not. And if the individual that you're taking care of is a family member and they have some age with them, they have some wisdom with them, and they're doing everything that they can do, right? And you're thinking, hey, he has insurance, so insurance is going to cover this and insurance is going to cover that. No, it's not. Because once they deem you have to go to long-term care, now they're looking for long-term care insurance. That's a totally separate thing. I know. You need a degree in all of this to actually figure it all out. So I wanted to do the podcast today about senior care because some of these things we don't even know. We have no clue. Think about this too. Even in your life insurance policies, some life insurance policies cover long-term care. So these are some of the questions when you're looking for life insurance, or you may want to add some additional life insurance, or you want to get, make sure you're covered in your older years. Most people talk about the finance side, making sure you have it in locked up and it's paying you and, you have enough to live the rest of your life and it's doing this and it's doing that. That's great. But now you also have to, at least in America, now you have to know what it is to have, whether it's long-term care, your insurance, life insurance, all of these different things, because no one ever told us. No one has never told us the difference, like insurance, healthcare insurance, then you need long-term care, and then they need this, right? And let me throw another curveball in there. Some people may say, oh, get Medicare and Medicaid. Man, listen, I'm getting schooled on Medicare and Medicaid even right now because I don't even understand it as I stand right here today. Right? You only this is a pet peeve. This is where I'm getting heated, right? Just with the whole system. Again, this is Stanley's opinion on this. This don't make no sense, man. I've heard somebody tell a friend of mine, right? I want you guys to listen to this. If you make over a certain amount, Medicaid will not accept you. So it was like, okay, well, how do you get to that spot? And they literally said out of their mouth that you only can make up to a certain amount and you can't have any, listen to what I'm saying. You can't have any savings. You can't have any retirement. They want you to spend all of that money and literally become dependent upon the state. I don't even know how to even respond to something like that. So think about this. Your loved one had worked all of their life and they have built up a substantial amount of finances, right? Whether, a substantial amount can be anything somebody deem it to be. Some people may say, I didn't grow it to like, six figures. Some people may say seven figures. Some people may say eight figures, whatever it may be. They've grown it. According to what they want from Medicaid, they want you to spend all of that down, right? And then become dependent upon the state. And get this, you're not going to believe this. You're just not going to believe this. In some cases, Some things are a 10-year wait. I've literally heard people say it's up to a 10-year wait. 10 years? What? What? That's a fact. I remember with a cousin going into it was a certain place, and he was just going into certain things, and he was looking for just a senior daycare, right? They don't take insurance. I mean, just make sure we're clear. The health insurance, they don't take that. Out of pocket or Medicaid. Okay, you can get a Medicaid voucher. Okay, great. Well, how do you get that? Well, you get a Medicaid voucher, but it's going to take 6 months, a year. I remember one time talking to Medicaid, it was in July. Like one year was in July. And I talked to them and they said, oh yeah, we in October the previous year and still dealing with those applicants. I'm scratching my head. I'm like, are you kidding me? Wait, what? All of those things you have to deal with, and you still have to have a great attitude to deal with the loved one that may be going through a life change, right? That's it. So you have the weight of dealing with insurance, long-term insurance, life insurance, some type of quality care, right? You're going into all of those different things. And as you're going into those different things, guess what? One not talking to the other. If you make, they even said, if you make a penny over whatever the allotted money is, they're going to shut you down. They're going to close it out. You're just not going to have Medicaid for that amount of time, or you may not have it at all. Now you just stuck. If you say it's something that somebody may have, let's say dementia, right? And it's like, it's not bad enough, but you just want some sitters. Listen to what I'm saying. Sitters. It's about, I think the average in Louisiana, last I checked, because I'm visiting, was, I think it was $25 per hour, right? If somebody needs 24-hour care, that's about $5,000 a week. It may be $4,000 a week. I mean, just $4,000 a week, $16,000 a month just for sitters, right? Just for somebody sitting there for with your parent or with your loved one or with your spouse or with your child. 24-hour care is expensive. And here's the thing. There's nothing else covered. There's no insurance that covers it. There's no nothing. There's no vouchers. There's no grants. There's no none of that covers it. It's actually, this is what you have to pay out of pocket. Well, some people may say, well, you know what, Stanley? Let me go to senior living, right? Well, senior living, depending on what you need, it's about $5,000 a month. In some cases, maybe $6,000, $7,000 a month. So now let's put a pause there. Who have that? Most people don't have that kind of money sitting around. So let's just take on the low end. It's $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. Some people don't even make that in their careers. So now you're talking about paying for, again, your loved one who had a traumatic experience, regardless of what it may be, may have a disease, an ailment, an illness, or something. And now you having to deal with that as well. Listen, I know a lot of people are shaking their head right now, but I'm telling you, these are the things that caregivers are actually fighting through, maneuvering through the system, trying to understand how it works. Because most people don't grow up and like, oh, this is what all of this means. You just don't grow up that way. But when you're faced with it, you literally have to go through each and every one of those steps. So let me just dig a little bit further. Right? So we talked about long-term care. And you may say, well, get home health, right? You can get that, but once again, there are actual criteria even for home health, right? And then how you're going to pay for it. Now, some people, oh, the insurance will pay for home health. Okay, great. But is that what you need? Now, there are some things that's called, I think it's called home health and hospice. It's not hospice what most people think that's, oh, they're going to die in the next couple of days. It's not that. It just gives more benefits on some of the hospice side, right? So now you have all of those benefits and you qualify and you're excited and all those things. But if you don't have somebody there with your loved one, the home health, the hospice people, they're not going to come because you have to have somebody there with them. Listen, it goes on and on and on. It's a big circle. It sometimes it may be a headache. You may be frustrated. You may get aggravated. But these are all of the things I want to share with you on this particular podcast so you can begin to take a look at some of these things. I pray nobody have to go through this or use any of this information that I'm sharing. But for whatever reason, if you do, these are just some of the things that we have to look through. We talk about, all of those things, right? So let's look at nursing home. Nursing home is not as easy as well. Some insurances only cover up to 20 days for a nursing home. So you can put somebody in a nursing home. Okay, great, insurance covered. But guess what? Now they got to come back. They got to come back out. Then it goes into the nursing home. Now they want to keep them. So now they're trying to get them long-term care. And how can we get them long-term care? And then if we get them long-term care, we can keep the bed. All of this going on. Let me tell y'all something. It's so disgusting in America right now, in my opinion, with the healthcare and all of the greed that's going on. It's just greedy. When yet you have a loved one, a family member, a friend, a relatives, or somebody that's there fighting for their life, and yet you have people that's saying, no, we're not going to accept this, or we just want that, or we're looking for this, oh, let's get that. And they're literally fighting for their life. It makes no sense. But this is some of the information that we have to get out, that we have to start looking at, so we'll make sure we at least start to have an understanding of where to go and who to talk to. There's something called Council on Aging, right? I talked to the Council on Aging people with another case, just dealing with a friend, right? Just trying to help out. And they were talking, you getting Meals on Wheels, but then it was like, if they're homebound, you can get these services. If they're not homebound, you can't get these services. I was scratching my head. I was like, you can't win. So if you want to get somebody to go out and do things and try to keep them healthy and active and all of that stuff, there are certain things you can't do. But if you're homebound, if you will, then you can get these other services. Who would know all of this? How can you figure all of this out without literally going through fire and trials and tribulation and trial and test and all of those things, that you're trying to just simply understand what it is to take that next step? Yeah, yeah. Why I'm passionate about this, because as I started going through and some of the things, the challenges that I've learned myself with different family member, friends, and relatives, it just came to a point to where people have to know about this. I mean, I'm hope nobody again have to use this, but when you're talking about what we're talking about and literally pushing through all of the things that we have to push through, these are all of the things and decisions that those caretakers, the family have to deal with, the siblings, the spouse, everybody have to deal with this. And then you go from there. Now, if you are one of those people whoever's a family member, right, and you're tore up, I want you guys to think about this. Not only are they just totally devastated emotionally, then they have to get themselves together to be presentable for the loved one, right? Because you're trying not to break down in front of them and make them feel a certain way. Now, on top of that, you have to make decisions with business people. And when I say business people, I'm talking about insurance companies, hospitals, or nursing homes, or daycares. Or you have to make those decisions with the business offices and how you're going to make that work. You have what do you call it? Social workers calling. Hey, you try this? Can you try that? I tried all of that. He doesn't qualify. She doesn't qualify. Now what? Oh, you know what, Stanley? I'm sorry to say, but that's all we have. It's just out of pocket from there. So now the caregiver have to make another decision. Well, do you give up your whole life trying to take care of them? You trying to figure out how could you do this? Some people have to quit their job to take care of their loved one. Then it puts a financial squeeze on their finances. All of that going on just because in my opinion, the healthcare in America is all screwed up. It's just messed up. It's literally messed up. And guess what? The loved one is the one that's suffering. It's not us who's in perfect health. It's the loved one. And they may have not done anything wrong their whole time. It's the loved one. Let me add something else to the pot. Senior living. Senior living. I think I talked about that already, but you have senior living, and you have senior living, which is some beautiful type housing and facilities, and it's amazing. But guess what? 5,000 easy at minimum. Some go up to 8,000, 9,000. So you have those things you have to think about. Sitters are high. We talked about that. Then, if you are one of those individuals that are actually helping or taking care, you got to look at bills, bills. So you got to look at from electricity. In America, you got to look at from electricity. If you have gas, water, cable, internet, I just say television, telecom, all of that stuff, cell phone. You have to look at that. That's just the core bills. Then you have to look at maybe alarm systems. You have to look at if they have any other outstanding bill, if they just gotten their air conditioning fixed, or if somebody cut the grass. All of those things now you have to start to put in the chronological order or put into some type of order, put it on a spreadsheet, something, right? If they have insurance, when does the insurance come? Do you pay it once a year? Do they pay every 6 months? Do they pay every month? You have to figure all of that stuff out as a caregiver to make sure you don't diminish anything that they have already built, right? And then a lot of times you start trying to cut costs for them, right? To make sure that they have at least more monies coming in. So you may get rid of the car, like I said earlier, and that get rid of the car note, you get rid of the insurance. At least that's some money you save. It can be significant amount of money a month. It could be anywhere from $2 to $5, $6, $700 that they're saving by getting rid of that, right? So now you got rid of that, then you start looking around what else that may be able to get rid of. You may not need, and I'm just saying, it's Spotify anymore. You need premium YouTube. You may not need premium this and premium that. You may be able to cut back on the television stations, right? You may be able to call and see how you can get a specialized package with just the television stations channels, excuse me, the channels that they watch. All of those things you have to now start, going through and trying to understand and figure that out. If you have to get haircuts, you have to figure out how to get somebody in to either cut their hair or can they still go to the hair, to the barber or to the salon, any of those things. So every single thing you have to now put into it. And on top of all of that, you cannot crack. Yeah, you can't just mentally just lose it and leave because now they're depending upon you. And I don't want to say last thing, but one of the last things I'll just say it in that state is your own personal mental health, right? So again, we're talking about senior care and you're caring for the senior or that loved one or that spouse or that grandparent or that mom or that dad, but you also have to take care of your own mental health. Who are you talking to process all of this? Who's staying up with you in the middle of the night when you just crying in your pillow, right? Who can you call? How can you take a break? How can you get someone to come and sit with him or her for a couple of days? How can you just take a deep breath? Can you get a visitor to come or somebody just to come and bring you some food? I mean, I can go on and on and on, but you have to make sure that you're also taking care of your mental health because it's that important. It's literally that important. Family, I can go on and there's so many other things that we can talk about inside of that space. But the biggest thing is making sure you take your time and put your arms around it, get all of the information, and then start to pick it off and peel it off one by one by one by one. Some days it may get a little harder than others. It may be a little bit more frustrating than others, but you got it. You got it. The reason why you have it is because that specific person chose you. That person chose you. And because that person chose you, that's speaking a lot about you. So for everybody that's doing senior care and helping fight through the things for your parents, for your grandparents, for your spouse, for your children, and you're going through all of those things, yeah, we got a lot of love for you. But make sure you're taking care of your mental health. Even if you got to watch a movie in the midnight hour, just to watch a movie to get your mind away from it, do that. Don't feel guilty because you decided you're going to take a walk and you ask somebody to come and just sit with them for a couple of hours so you can just go and just take a deep breath and get it off of you. Yeah, that's your mental health break. That's your opportunity to take a breath, breathe, get it all through, and then you continue on the journey until you get the conclusions that you need. And then once you get the conclusions that you need, then you're done, right? And then now you're able to have them rest comfortably in the remaining days of their life but you know you have already put everything in place. You have everything moving forward, and now you can just enjoy them for the remainder of their life, right? Guys, that's going to conclude it for us for today. This was a heavy topic for a lot of people, but I wanted to make sure we share this information on senior care, right? On the things that we have to do for our seniors or for our loved ones or for our spouses or for our parents or grandparents or kids. I wanted to make sure we understood every single thing that's out there that I have information on. And there's even more information in this, but I wanted to share it with our Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette family. I love you guys. Listen, go to all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Go subscribe, share, like, join, donate, do all of those things. If you know somebody that really need or want to take a look at a good podcast, have them come over and have them take a look at some of our previous podcasts. Look at some of the latest and greatest. Look at some of the first ones that we did. Regardless of what it is, come on over and join, like, subscribe, share, take notes, send ideas in. If you want to hop on the podcast, come on, hit me up and let's go to work. Let's make some things happen to continue to be a blessing to so many people out there. All right. So with that being said, I will see you guys on the beaches of the world. God bless. And I will see you guys next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. We're out. Peace.